I'm gonna turn on some music.
I'm going away. I can't be babysitting.
Okay. There we are. Is this Rebirth? Who is this?
Uh, uh, hot, hot eight rice.
Hot 8.
I'll have to send you the playlist. Um, Super awesome. I found it on.
Cool. Okay. So I requested to be in, right?
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Thank y'all for tuning in another edition of the Bonetown podcast. I'm your host Michael Razzo, and we have a good, awesome show for you today. I just want to thank again for everybody listening, watching, that's keeping up with me and everything through what's been going on and whatnot, and everybody that's donated to the podcast. I got a sponsored ad from Gooseworks, my homies at Gooseworks. All right. Our homies at Gooseworks Screen Printing Studios are trying to help out out-of-work musicians due to the pandemic. They designed a t-shirt to sell to help raise money for the Houston Arts Alliance, who has been giving out grants to local Houston artists and musicians who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And 50% of the proceeds will be donated to the Houston Arts Alliance. Head over to gooseworksart.com to help out local musicians in need. All right. Today, I have a special guest. I have never gotten to meet Ryan in person. I've got to see him play around town and everything. It's somebody I've been meaning to hook up with and get some lessons out of and just hang out and talk shop. And but I'm just glad I'm able to do it now, even with everything going on. So without further ado, let me bring in Ryan. There. And then here he is. Got him on.
Ah,
Hey, what's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
very well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. I've been experimenting with for a while now.
Yeah, this is really great. I was telling you before, it's cool to see something like this going on in existence, trombone specific,
Yeah.
but just getting to talk and see what happens.
Yeah, man. So let's.
Hey, John.
Oh yeah, John's on there too. What's up, Ryan? Or yeah, he's like, hey, what's up? All right, so let's get into it, man. So some of the questions I have for you today. Did you grow up in Houston, Texas?
Yeah, I guess I'm technically a native. I came here from Corpus, technically, but very young. But yeah, I grew up on the west side, KDISD, and been here since the early '80s. So started playing trombone in junior high over at May Creek Junior High,
Okay.
and sixth grade band, Texas band program, and I've been around ever since.
Nice.
Doing trombone band, jazz orchestras, all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome, man.
What about yourself? I don't even know. Where are
Oh,
you from?
well, I'm from Houston, Texas as well. I live on the southeast side of town, Pasadena area.
Okay.
I grew up like in the city of South Houston, where it's a very small city within the city of Houston. It's really weird, but where my school district was part of Pasadena ISD. So I went to Mathis Elementary, started in band in South Houston Intermediate, and then went to South Houston High School. And then after that, I did a little bit of college. I did like symphonic band and jazz band with Tito Hernandez at San Jack for a bit, and then I went to U of H for like a semester or so until I didn't know what to do with my life. But 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 yeah, so but yeah, the other question I had too is like, so growing up, what kind of what influenced you in playing trombone? Did or and music in general? Do you have any influences through like your parents, any family members or anything?
No, not any musical talent in my family. Music appreciation for sure,
Hmm.
but I was the first musician, and my parents were kind of shocked when I told them I wanted to play basically any instrument.
Yeah.
The preferred the saxophone, like most kids,
Yeah.
and and it's you probably did the same thing when you showed up for band. Did they have like a band night when you were young, fifth grade going into sixth grade or something like that?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I remember they had, I think it was probably H&H at the time.
Yeah,
They came by, had instruments, and you got to touch everything, see everything, and I had a cousin. He's 8 years older than me, and he played saxophone. So
yeah,
I got a little bit of music knowledge from him growing up, and I knew what a sax was. But that's not what I wanted to play. I wanted to play something different. I was always like never wanting to do what he did, yeah, and but
yeah.
um, but yeah, I remember. I think I wanted to play percussion. That's what I wanted to do,
Okay,
and
okay.
yeah, and our teacher, he was going through the students by alphabetical last name, and I'm Razzo, so I was like at the very end. So everything I wanted to
Oh,
do
fair.
was taken.
Yeah.
Is
And
that what
so
happened to you as well?
whatever was left over is what you got, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. He just told
Like,
me, he goes, stand up, put out your arms, and I was a short, chubby kid, and I did. And he goes, oh, you'll grow. We're gonna put you on trombone, and I was like, what is that?
yeah, I didn't think about it. I just knew like saxophone because it was band. I was like, I'm not doing an orchestra, and I grew fast. I had long arms. I was tall, so they're like, oh, we have a tuba player.
Oh, nice.
They tried to give it a tuba. He's not playing a effing tuba like
Yeah.
ever playing it. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to have a tuba at the house. And so they gave me euphonium, and like, it's okay, but I thought it was weird. And they gave me the trombone. I had long enough arms and the whole build, and so
Yeah.
it kind of worked out. And I thought, you just go like, okay, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, it was a pretty good band program. I had a band director I liked.
Hmm.
But it's the saving grace as a private lesson teacher, a private lesson teacher that you have good rapport with. And that's really what took it to the next level for me and got me thinking about jazz music and things outside of just band class, playing notes on a page, teaching me how to improvise and getting me involved with the Young Sons of Houston Jazz Band when I was in middle school, which
Nice.
I think is probably where I met. It's probably where I met Durbin,
Oh,
right? I
okay.
don't know, John, you can weigh in. I think I met you there. Yeah, he was a PDA kid. He was like intimidating. All those PDA kids.
Yeah. I know, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you had a pretty good like band program growing up and stuff like that. That's awesome. And that you got into jazz because of the band program at school and stuff like that, or did you venture out later on, or did you venture into jazz while at school, or like it was more like after high school and college that you really got into it?
No, it was seventh grade. My teacher, his name was Steve Sherrard, and he's passed. He passed about 20 something years ago. But he was very active in the jazz community, and he'd been around Houston for a long time. And so he had connections, and he got me in this jazz band starting in seventh grade. And it
Hmm.
was kind of like they wanted to make like an all-star city jazz band of middle school and high school students
Okay,
was the
cool.
concept, which is why it was mostly HSPDA kids at first. And but I got to meet Martin Langford was my director, so I got to meet Martin and get to know him very well. I met John, like I said. I met the Adams brothers, which Courtney, Gerald, and Aaron Adams, and they could all play everything amazing. And so it was kind of like this whole new world because, I mean, frankly, Katy was kind of a cultural wasteland at that time, at least for like a kid playing trombone.
Yeah.
You could be in the band program, but it was far west, and I lived up a Highway 6 North, so I wasn't even in proper Katy. There wasn't much going on, so I had to get out, and a very devoted father who would drive me out there, and my mom too. And so every week, like every Wednesday night, we go. It's a U of H downtown, and rehearse. And that's where I got my first taste of big band. And I started doing it. And then, by the time you get to high school, you would expect to have like a high school jazz band. And mine eventually formed when I was there. But all my musical interests laid outside of school itself, just because there wasn't much happening. So, thank God for private lesson teachers. Thank God for parents that want to drive you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
otherwise, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. So
Yeah.
that's where it all started.
That's awesome. And what led you to go to U of H?
I'm sorry. I think you muted yourself.
Uh-oh.
I can't hear you. Are you on mute?
One second. Can you hear me
All
now?
right. No, not really. I'll turn it up on the phone. Go ahead and talk.
Check, 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 check.
Okay, I can kind of hear you.
Okay.
That's
um,
weird.
so what made you lead to go to U of H again?
Um, Really, just I wanted to stick around town. I
Yeah.
didn't. I had plans to go to North Texas and really study trombone and do the whole path there. But frankly, kind of uh, just chickened out and didn't didn't even apply.
Yeah.
And I was in the suspects at the time in high school, and so I was like, well, I can still play with these guys, and
Yeah.
fulfilled a lot of things for me. But I didn't want to move. I had a lot of fear about it, a lot of trepidation. So I ended up at U of H, which turned out to be a very good thing. I ended up being in Noe's program there, playing in the big band, and I got to expand and get a lot more time soloing and taking applied music. But it was kind of a haphazard way to begin because I didn't really know about college. I was super uncertain.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do music, but was very scared of committing to it at such a young age. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, you went to college for a bit. And did you ever feel that pressure of like you're going to college? This has to be something important. You have to make money when you leave,
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and also too, you don't want to let your parents down. You know what I mean? And like, because one, they save all this money, and they want you to go to college. They want you to get a better education, and and but also it's just like if you don't know what you want to do with your life, you know what I mean. It's really scary to commit to something like that, especially everybody sees music as not a very like money making thing, and so I like you were better off I always hear like not necessarily from my parents but from other people, oh, you're better off doing this, you're better off studying that to but I'm like, well, but I don't want to do that. Like, well, why do I didn't want like my thinking was why do something that's not going to make me happy, you know what I mean? And even if
Yeah,
and in doing music was always something that I was okay like consistently, like I always felt like that was the only thing I was good at, and even now I still see myself as mediocre, because I didn't really take music seriously in school because I was like, I'm not going to be a musician when I grow up, you know what I mean? And so
hmm
it was a balancing or trying to figure out like if I wanted to go to music or just get a regular job. And so after I dropped out of college, my thing was like, you know what, I guess I'll just find a regular job, and I did. And even though it brought me money and stability, playing with other bands like Los Carnales, and then we formed the Suffers while in Los Carnales, and
yeah, yeah.
man, I had so much fun doing that. I felt like that was my getaway from work. And then when we finally had the chance to do it full time, and I was just like, oh shit, like what I do? And I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I just got married too, and
Yeah,
I was already chunking deuce, going on the road. uh,
yeah. How old were you when all
uh,
that started up?
let's see. I don't remember. I joined Los Carnales when I was 19, going on
Okay,
20, and then I was in the band for 8 years. So I don't remember like 20 if I was married. So I had to be like 26.
okay,
26. I'm 32 now.
okay.
And but yeah, I mean it's scary to commit to doing music full time, but once you start doing it,
Uh-huh.
it's to me it's been like one of the best things ever. Like, you know, I just love it, especially when you go to a show and then you know, if it's full or not, people are happy, and especially when you talk to people afterwards and just, you know, hearing that they had a shitty day and that, you know, it brought them, you know, happiness in their life for a little, you know, during that time. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like you got to have no fear going into it. I eventually settled on the idea of, well, I can get any job where I'm sitting at a desk, I
Yeah.
guess, for the rest of my life. And you know, you got to really seize that opportunity of college, or especially in your 20s. Like for me, it was late teens and early 20s. That thing, you
Hmm.
feel. I don't know. I mean, some people feel expectations from parents, like I need to be my mom or my dad, or I need to be this model of professionalism that I found, and you can live in that for too long. And I was kind of trapped there for a little while.
Yeah.
You know, turned it into a music education kind of track for me through performance and all that stuff. But you know, there's lots of avenues that I did not know were there until I really thought about it and got to know more people in college.
Yeah.
You know, not just playing. You know, because like I never like what you're doing. I never envisioned like for myself, like
Hmm.
touring, original act, touring. It was too scary.
Yeah. It still is.
I'm sure it is. You know, even now, you kind of because I just looked at myself. I kind of looked at music as a trade after a while. Like you just have to have this skill, and so I just wanted to be good at playing everything
Hmm.
as best as I possibly could. And Houston's a unique place. Well, I don't know if it's unique, but it's different from New York or Chicago or New Orleans or LA or you know those systems where you can have like a really steady income and regular job here
Yeah.
as a working musician. It's kind of like a tradesman's job. You know, you have your
Hmm.
gig, you have your church gig, you have your restaurant gig or gigs, you have your variety band gigs on the weekends and weddings and stuff like that. And for years, people have been able to exist in that, and that's really kind of where I saw myself fitting in. And you know, musical theater or whatever it was.
Hmm.
Didn't even consider education to be a possibility. But there's so much going on here in terms of just the size and the money in this town for the
Hmm.
scope of it, that you can find like a niche somewhere. Like you and I have never met,
Yeah.
which is shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and so there's all these different circles around Houston. And when I meet like a new person who has all these common friends, but it's just like I never met you. It's just
Hmm.
it's such a big place that you don't really see each other anymore. So
Yeah. Especially
it's great.
nowadays.
Yeah, especially nowadays, you have to do this, or I'm kind of getting Zoom fatigue. I don't know about you. You know, we have like maybe like meetups with friends or something at night, but you know, I have to do teaching remote for the school and that, and so I'm making videos or having Zoom office hours for kids, and it's grating on everyone.
Yeah, I bet. So how do you think the kids are reacting to this kind of learning? Do you think it's still pretty beneficial, or do you feel like being one on one is still like way better?
Oh, I mean, no question. Teaching isn't teaching and learning, and especially music. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
You have to be in the room, and you have to be able to interact and fully engage, and in some cases, like actually position kids where they need to be and like show them what things are.
Hmm.
But I teach boys from third grade up to eighth grade, and so I'm doing like elementary choir, beginning music, recorders, melodicas, little percussion instruments, and then band instruments. And so
Nice.
there's like a whole gamut there, and like some music theory in there with it.
Hmm.
And so it's so interactive. And so I mean, the best I can get is make my videos and send them out to the boys of demonstrating lessons or something like that, and then they send it back to me, and I can kind of critique or something. But the
Yeah.
name of the game for me has been to have fun and try to
Yeah.
find some music that's accessible that they can play, they want to play. Uh, I don't know. I'm glad I'm math right now. That would be a nightmare. If physics or something on paper, it would be terrible.
Do they get to pick like what kind of music they want to like, you know, practice on, or do you have like a whole regiment for them and everything?
For the most part, we have like a course.
Okay.
You know, things we encourage them to learn on their own anything. You know, and if they have questions, you know, come to me. It's a very small school. It's a private school, and I'll show them one-on-one, or the benefit of it is that the teacher to student ratio is very, very, very small. So I have time for one-on-one consulting, or I can write out something for the boys or something like that,
Nice.
and they have a good time, which is great because that's what you need. It's kind of like a little mini private lesson as much as possible. So if I can give 10 minutes to a kid per week or something, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that keep showing up and want more lessons or want to show me something or have questions. It's awesome. You get to engage their curiosity and really let them experiment and play around. And by fifth grade, interact with like 5 different instruments already, including the voice. So that's pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome. And I saw too, you have a trumpet behind you, so you play other instruments besides.
Yeah, this is my this is my at home. This is my recorder. This is my melodica, my trumpet, clarinet.
Nice.
Trombones are over there in the closet. Yeah, it's everything. It's everything. So
that's awesome. How did you start learning trumpet? Did you just like buy one and just kind of like start messing around?
I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. I mean, to be quite honest, it's very hard. I think the French horn is the hardest one just because of the partial thing. But trumpet, the embouchure is so small, but it's made me such a better brass player overall because of the corner control you have to have, and the air control and everything. So the concept. You just have to practice.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I just practiced over it. Same with clarinet. Actually, clarinet is just, it's a demon. That embouchure is like completely opposite. And so it took me a full year to kind of get it down because it's the opposite. I took a lesson with Martin Langford once, and he just kind of showed me the ins and outs of clarinet and saxophone. I'm like, okay, here's what you do. And he wrote down notes for me and everything, like, just do this and you'll be fine.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's cool. But I think it's still performance, that's why we do it, and if I wasn't able to continue to learn new instruments or arrange or compose new music or folk songs or Christmas carols or whatever, like every year I'm just like churning out new stuff and learning new things, then I wouldn't be interested in it. So it has to be that kind of thing. I can never do the programmatic band director thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's like too structured.
Yeah.
And big, like 5A, 6A schools. Those are massive schools.
Yeah, because like some of them they have to have they need an assistant director and then a
percussion guy, an assistant, and
yeah, man. I mean, we only had 2 directors. I mean, we had a pretty big. My freshman year, we had a pretty big, high school band, and then they built a new school down the street, and that took everybody away from our program. And I was like, we went from like 400 or 500 students to like 60 something. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
really?
Yeah, it was nuts.
That's devastating.
Yeah.
And that was like mid high school for you, or?
Yeah, my sophomore year, I believe. Yeah.
Now, did you like the whole band program thing? Did you like one symphonic band or marching band more than the other?
I mean, they were both equally, I mean, obviously marching band was fun because you got to play music that wasn't, symphonic music. It was the fun, peppy music and stuff like that. And, got everybody kind of riled up. And then, when it got to like, symphonic time, which is usually the second semester of school.
Yeah.
Once you start digging into a piece, and you start to really appreciate it. And, like there's some songs that I've heard, like we did Phantom of the Opera, but like I've seen the movie, I've gone to see the musical when I was younger. And then when we finally got to play it, I was like, oh, cool, Phantom of the Opera. And then, my teacher also didn't really necessarily just teach us the music. He told us the backside of the story. He went, we dove into it. And I didn't, and I thought that was awesome. And I was like, oh man, like I didn't know there was this whole side to it, But man, but yeah, I mean, they're both equally fun. I think I liked marching band a little more, but I hated the marching. I hated doing
the actual act of playing the marching band stuff.
Yeah,
and the practice wasn't. Did you like practicing?
Oh, of course not.
surely in a parking lot, just like I did.
Yeah, and
it's starting in August in Houston,
in Texas, and it's humid, super humid, sweating. Yeah,
I wish there was some petition I could sign to band directors of the world, or their administrators, more importantly, to let them know that marching band is not that important.
No,
It does
no,
not. It's fun and it's camaraderie, but musically, it is not. No,
no.
stop it, quit.
Yeah.
And it's literally torture in the summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, in college, I think I liked it more in college. I mean, the only music program I was at U of H when I did go over there was marching band, and after that, that's the next semester is when I pretty much like dropped out. But
Okay, so when were you at U of H? Because I
oh,
definitely didn't meet you there.
fall of '06, I believe. Yeah, fall of
Okay,
'06. Yeah, because I went to San Jack fall '05 and spring '05. Yeah, and so U of H fall of '06. And
okay.
so I was there that semester in the music program, and then only did marching band. And then when it came to second semester, I didn't really do any music programs. I did regular classes, but I was in and out of my classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my first year at U of H, I did pitifully. It was horrible. I failed two classes. My GPA sunk to like near below a two, I
Hmm.
think. I
Hmm.
was on the probation list.
Yeah.
Everything. I had no motivation. I was undecided. I was living in. Did you ever go to the Moody Towers? You know the two.
I know where they're at, but I don't
Yeah,
think I've ever been. Maybe once.
I
Yeah.
lived. I lived in one of those cells there, and it's very old. It's all concrete. It's just like a concrete wall and like a fold out bed. It's so depressing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just stay there and like collapsed and stopped going to classes and all that stuff. And like finally, it took about a year off for me to turn it around. So my undergrad degree was, I mean, 7 years to get from beginning
Man.
to end. 99 to '06 is when I got that, and then I went to my master's. But yeah, it's like talk about undecided. I wish I would have just gotten a job
Yeah.
or joined the Peace Corps, or sometimes. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today, but this is where fear, trepidation, and like an uncertainty to commit to anything. That's what it does for like young
Hmm.
18-year-old Ryan. It was terrible.
If you could, well, if you had a message for kids or young adults now, and if they're feeling like that, what would you tell them?
Uh, if you don't know, then don't. There should be no pressure to go to college out of expectations,
Hmm.
other than your sole desire to want to broaden your knowledge and your experiences. I think college is. I have a lot of thoughts on higher education, but I think college is transforming into something that I don't necessarily like
Same.
and agree with, and I think it's being formed into more of a trade school,
Hmm.
and that you learn a technical skill, be that business administration or computer science or something like that, so that we can have more people doing more work as life migrates more from like a physical life to a digital. So coding and accounting and number counting, it's a lot of money to spend that you will never see again if you're not going to do something that you don't like. And high school used to mean something, and it doesn't anymore.
Hmm.
So it would be great if we had better high school systems and less testing systems, just for kids to pass the test and get out. But kids graduate from high school, and I mean, what opportunities are there?
Yeah.
Not a lot, because no one trusts that the education is good and that they're all still young. And
Hmm.
so we need to improve that situation instead of just relying on college to fix people and make them better, smarter. Because now it's like, well, everyone has to get a college degree, and that is not true.
No, it's
It's
not.
simply
Yeah.
not true.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I feel similar in certain ways. I just feel now everybody's in debt. Everybody spends
Yeah.
all this money,
Hmm.
and then and of course some people, yeah, they get good jobs, and but you spend most of the time paying all that back. And sometimes there are people in the same industry, and sometimes they didn't do the same education as those has spent a lot of money, but they're doing the same kind of jobs. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like, what was the point in spending all that money to do, when I couldn't, I didn't have to, and someone else is doing the same position, getting paid the same amount. Um, but yeah, man, it's crazy. It's really nuts, man.
You have to like college used to be. It used to be like a privileged place to be and to get to, and especially advanced degrees, for people that have the time the knowledge, of course, but the time to pursue that,
Hmm.
and so the liberal arts has been taken out of a lot of things. I mean, this is an old argument: humanities and liberal arts, um, because we don't know how to teach it. We just treat everything like capitalism. We can make more money doing this thing if we copy this process, and we can do it in every way. And so you see that kind of trickle down into arts programs. The ones that are successful, like the West Side of Houston, Katie has great band programs, huge orchestra programs. All these numbers are great, and not to besmirch the name of those things, but it's all numbers, and it's like the military. They're drilling everything in, and it's not artistic.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you want to get an artistic degree or liberal arts degree in college, that's, I think, more what it's for. I mean, you can get a technical job with an associate's degree or a high school diploma, and they will train you on the job how to code, or you can learn that on your own.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a college for that. You go back to college, once you have enough. But if you want to get an arts degree, are you willing to go into the amount of debt required for you to study at Berkeley or Juilliard, or to these really elite conservatories where you're going to be in debt for the next 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
possibly. And for what? So you have to have the money now.
Definitely.
And,
Yeah.
and a lot of people go to those schools to get connected and meet the right people, or to get the gig, like if Esperanza Spalding needs a drummer, or like it used to be in North Texas, Maynard Ferguson would just pick up like half the band in the 70s and 80s and just take it with him, and he
Yeah.
would get the jazz program, and that's what people did.
Yeah.
And so, that's why people migrate to those places, and they never finish degrees there,
Hmm.
and I get it, because it's about connectivity, inclusion, and an open door. So, you know, it's kind of weird that you have to pay that much money just to get into the club.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's nuts. Yeah, yeah, I just remember, like the amount of money I was spending at the time, and I felt bad because I was, sorry mom, I know she's probably watching, but yeah, I would just skip out on classes, and I was just like, man, is this for me? Like I just didn't feel like I belong, not just belong, I just felt like there was no urge, and I was like, why am I just wasting all this money just to hang out at this really nice school? And but yeah, and I felt bad, and that's why I dropped out. I know my parents were mad when I did, but at the same time, I was like, well, I don't want to waste any of your money if it's not doing anything, and I
Mhm.
and I didn't want any of the money. I was like, you do. I know you saved all this money, and I know you wanted me to get a better education, and I appreciate it. But just I don't. I feel like I'm wasting it, and I don't want to waste any more of your hard-earned money that they've already saved.
Exactly. Well, that's a hard decision to make, and it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like to realize it and then reckon with it, and then figure out what you're going to do next. What did you do next? What was the plan?
Well, there was no plan. I just
No.
know I didn't know what to do. I ended up working in an insurance company, and I was in the mailroom, and I was there for 6 years. And while I was in the mailroom, I was just like, I'm only going to be here a couple of years, and then I'll figure out my next move. But then I ended up being there 6 years, and then playing in Los Carnales on the weekends and stuff like that. And that was fun. That yeah. And then while we are in there, that's when, like I said, we started the Suffers, and just things kind of evolved in just playing with musicians that were like minded, super fun,
Hmm.
very creative, and just collaborating with one another. And just it started out as just being fun, and it evolved into something else that we had no idea it was going to go to. And
Yeah.
but that's one thing I do like about music is it seems like a lot of people will find like-minded people, and we can create and stuff like that. It's cool.
It's great. It's a social thing.
Yeah.
Even for the antisocial among us, because
Same.
I've met some
Same.
antisocial musicians. But yeah, so that is how the Suffer started. It was like a side project or after hours kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know this.
so we started as a like a cover group. We were doing like reggae, rock steady, like strictly roots music,
Okay.
and so we were just like, you know what, let's just keep doing this. And then all of a sudden, someone wrote a original song. I think it was Pat, our keys player, and shout out Pat Kelly. And
Oh yeah, Pat. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so he wrote a song, and we're like, hey, this is cool. We'll sneak it in the set list. And then one original song came, and it was more and more and more. And so our set list became less covers and more originals, and people really liked them. And we were just like, oh, well, this is cool. So yeah, and then yeah, we just kept playing and playing, and then it just kind of went like it just skyrocketed somewhere else that I never thought it would go to. So, but yeah, and here I am doing podcasts at home.
Just like the rest of us, man. Just like Jimmy Fallon.
Yes.
Just like him.
All right, we'll be back after these sponsors. No, I'm sorry.
Hey, next up, can we play some fun games or something?
Yeah.
Plinko, Celebrity Plinko or whatever.
So I was checking out your website, and man, I really love some of the your teaching philosophies that I saw.
Oh yeah.
And I was reading some of them, and I'm going to share with some of the group. I want y'all to go check out, Ryan's website, ryangabbart.com. And
my neglected and unupdated website. Yes.
But it's great, man. Like some of the stuff you put in there is really great. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll read some of the pinpoints. One is artist therapy. The second one is learning music gives students more than just a skill. The third one is there are several ways to learn anything. You just have to find what works for you. The fourth one is creativity is in everyone and needs nourishment to thrive. And the last one is deeper knowledge brings deeper appreciation. Where did you learn some of these like philosophies, or is that something that you just like grown up like learning, and you just kind of were like, I just want to share these, or was it taught by somebody?
Yes. School of life experience. One of those I kind of stole. I'll show you the book. There's a very good book called Artist Therapy. I'll put it on Instagram too. And when I was in Amsterdam about 5 or 6 years ago, Sarah and I were in Amsterdam and went to the Rijksmuseum, which is there. And they applied this artist therapy. They got in touch with the authors, and they what they did was find specific exhibits throughout, and they kind of added like little post-it notes, basically explaining or translating some of the art, and then explaining what it means. And so it was really, really exciting in that way, because it would take something that was kind of stuffy or high-minded or 200 years ago, and so you don't really understand the social mores of what the art was trying to say, and they would just break it down to like, you're not that important, get over yourself, move on with your life.
Yeah.
Seek to improve. And I thought, wow, that's really great. And so art is always, good art at least, is seeking to explain something or communicate something. It's not always obvious at first, but it should be effective in the long run, if we're going to continue to revisit. So I think making that, even if it's bad, even if you think you're bad, kind of like there's the idea that there's no bad artists. This is a big art therapy idea, music therapy idea. You're getting a chance to express yourself, because not everyone is very good at expressing themselves, and a lot of people don't have the opportunity to express themselves. And music was the one thing that did it for me. It kind of brought me out of a shell, and it gave me a tool, and it gave me a social identity, and it gave me, a career. And I didn't know it when I was in 6th grade, but it did. And I wouldn't classify myself as an overly creative type. I'm much more analytical, type A. I need to organize things. I need to have lists. I need to have a schedule. Yeah. That kind of thing. I have an administrative mindset. And, but there's still some creativity in there, obviously, like to improvise in any medium or format on any instrument, requires you to know something about it in the context. To improvise a conversation, you have to understand, so many social things that, growing up in Houston, we had a shorthand especially.
Yeah.
So it's an outlet, and it can be developed, and it can be really, really honed, and it doesn't ever have to go anywhere. But it's like a gift. It's a gift to you. And I hear, because I teach kids now, I hear a lot of parents describe music as like a gift for their boys to give to their family, which I tend to forget. That music is a gift to the audience as well. But It truly is. And some of the boys I teach, I mean, they're just terrible. At first, as you should be.
Yeah.
Very few pick up an instrument and just go, "Ooh, Mozart," but they're absolutely terrible. And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I've told them like 15 million times, third position, or whatever," and they miss it every time. But you see their parents, and like, "Oh my God, how did you teach him that song? It's amazing. He played it for his sister, and she cried." That kind of thing. You forget that those moments happen all the time in every little family and house, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely wonderful. And so it's that kind of thing that I love about education. And the challenge for me is just figuring out how to tailor the message to the student so they get it. And it's always changing. Always.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And is that so you were, and so on that note, you were saying learning music. Oh, or no, where is it? Where is it? You just have to find what works for you. So you kind of like figure out what works for that student and stuff like that.
Well, meet them where they're at. Whether it's learning like the physical act, applied music of an instrument, or I used to teach jazz history course, which is basically a jazz appreciation course when I taught at U of H, and I always hated, when people like, "Oh, you never heard of freaking John Coltrane? Well, watch this," and they put on like late period John Coltrane Ascension, and it's like 14 instruments and 5 drummers, and they're all playing at the same time. And it's like, well, no wonder I hate John Coltrane, asshole. Like, that sucks. To that ear, like they're never going to get it. So meet people where they're at and try to build from there if you can. I mean,
Yeah.
you see a lot of it in political discourse as well, but it's just absurd. So yeah, find what works for you, or know what works for you.
Yeah.
My mentor Noe Marmolejo, he always told me, is like, don't ever teach what you've been taught. Teach what you know, and he's always been right. And so you use the experiences that you have and the ones that you've effed up a million times and learned from, hopefully. And and you're that means you're adaptable, man. You know where it's going to go. You know all the possible outcomes, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so you meet the kid or the student or wherever they're at. I think it's just a good lesson for life.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say too, like some of these, and like I was reading some of the paragraphs on each one, and I feel like I could relate on not just a musical level, but a personal level. Like you were saying, like one of them was saying, I was just talking, I believe it was Aaron, like how I feel like music is good for, younger kids, because it does teach them like, team building or working as a team. And collaborating with one another, because even if they're going to do music or not, they're going to do that on some type of level, in their life, if it's with family, if it's whatever job they have later on in life, and stuff like that.
It's a collaborative team sport. I mean, the easiest way to teach it to young kids is sports.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a different outcome. It looks different, but it's physical. And you're using your mind at the same time, and you have to like watch and listen and appreciate and do something together. There's no difference.
Yeah.
That's why it's an amazing thing. That's why sports are great for you, because it's the only time you're using your mind and your physical body at the same time. I mean, I can't think of many others. Painting, cooking, yeah, but that's like timing, and you can pause and think, but everything else is an act, and you can't duplicate an act. You can't. Music is more abstract than painting, because you can't walk inside of it, you can't look at it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it.
Yeah,
when you think about it, it's insane.
It
right?
is. Yeah, it is.
Every culture has it, and I don't know why, but it's an insane concept when you put it on paper. One of my favorite comedians, he goes, I always wanted to just be there, that the first time anyone ever sang, just, whoa, what's happening? That must have been weird.
That's awesome. So outside of music right now, because we're having this pandemic going on and everything, what are you like? How have you been during all this time? Like during this thing, like you've been good mentally, physically, and everything. Like you've been good.
Yeah. I mean, we have a 1-year-old, so he keeps us in check.
Nice.
There are no sick days. You just got to show up and you got to do it. And and for him, I mean, this is great. he loves it. He's like, Mom, Dad are always home. So, and I see them all the time, every day, and so it's a bright spot. And it keeps you on a schedule for sure. Sometimes it's just like when you're exhausted or you're just kind of hitting the wall, because I think we've all hit the wall. I think I've hit the wall 3 to 4 times already. Just the ennui. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
Are you?
yeah.
I don't know if it's
Well, like every time I come home from tour, I'm already kind of social distancing because I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay home. I don't want to get in a car because I've been in a van for hours. So
yeah.
for me, like, I can do this. Like, but for the most part, yeah, I'm starting to itch now to be like, damn, I just want to go play a show. I don't care if there's like nobody there. I just want to rehearse with my friends, and
Mhm.
that alone is just like, shit, man, this sucks.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I mean, the one thing I'm doing artistically is we're doing like using the acapella app with Boomtown Brass Band, who I currently play with, and um, that's been motivating for a lot of us
Hmm.
to just do something, whether it's a new song or just an old cover or something like that. Um, but I mean, it could be worse for us. I'm mostly grateful, to be honest. If we didn't have our son, I feel like we'd just be spinning out. You can only fill up the list with so many things,
Yeah.
and you just kind of run out of things at some point. And so the regularity of it has been very therapeutic.
That's awesome.
Um,
I know.
yeah,
I know. It's been. I've been trying to look on the bright side of things as well, and being home. I definitely miss being home for long periods of time. So being here, is been great to kind of like do stuff around the house that I've been meaning to do and neglecting for for years, and so yeah, so getting being home, hanging out with my wife, spending that quality time that we've missed is definitely been great, but definitely
yeah.
miss seeing some of the familiar faces on the road and everything like that. And shout out to everybody that's tuning in from the road, that I met. What's up? Hope you are doing well.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about Boomtown Brass Band. How how long have you been playing with them?
Um, let's see. I started Boomtown when Thomas Helton, the tuba player and bassist across town, man of many bass personalities,
Yeah.
started Boomtown in 2015, I think, officially. I've kind of been collaborating or working with 10 or 12 years. And so he had the idea of doing like a legit, true to form 20s jazz ensemble. He's very, very specific about it. I'm a little more lax and we fight about that. But the concept was cool. And it's, I think, still very cool because it's the only ensemble in town, to my knowledge, that does like 1920s style jazz, where you have to play in that spirit and you have to play the material, the actual material, not playing like a Lee Morgan tune in the style of or something,
Hmm.
and you have to play the whole time. And so that means collective improvisation. That means really getting like your stop time down, 2 beat, 4 beat stop times, your intros, your tags, all the little solo stuff. So it required a lot of listening and a different feel altogether. I couldn't play bebop. I couldn't play modal. I couldn't play pop. I had to play like Jack Teagarden.
Yeah.
So it's cool, and I get to really work on my plunger technique, which has been a big boon and one of the favorite things to do.
Yeah, I've checked y'all. I've seen y'all a couple times at Market Bar. I've gone on
Yeah.
Sundays, I believe, during brunch. My wife, she books some of the bands there at Market Bar,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I've heard of y'all several times, and finally, I think one time we went for brunch, and I saw y'all, and I was like, "That's Thomas. That's the or not Thomas. That's Ryan. That's the guy that John's been telling me I should go talk to." And I wasn't gonna like go talk to you during your set or anything. And but
Musicians know, like, don't just wait.
yeah. But yeah, I love it too, man. And there's some other places that I've seen y'all play, and it's great. Yeah, there's definitely no one in town like y'all for sure, and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, thanks. It's pretty cool. And every when we have drums, it's a washboard,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So real percussion. It's a great group. I'm a bit partial to it, so check it out at boomtownbrassband.com. I'm glad you like it. I didn't know that you ever saw us.
Hmm.
Well, I saw you. I've only seen the Suppers twice, and the first time I ever saw, this is embarrassing. The first time I ever saw the Suppers was when we were living in Portland at Mississippi
Oh
Studios.
yeah, that's right. I remember that. That's right. Mississippi Studios, man. I love that venue, by the way.
That's like my favorite room.
Yeah,
It's an amazing place. That was
that's.
my favorite room in the entire city.
How long did you live over there?
We were up in Portland for about a year,
Okay, cool. How'd you
and
like it up there?
it's great. I mean, especially in the summertime, I miss it.
Are you an
Uh,
outdoors kind of guy?
yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
The hiking, the proximity to the river, and several mountains. Yeah, we miss it every day, all the time. So we try to get back up there as much as possible.
That's
It kind
awesome.
of makes it hard in these
Yeah.
times. But yeah, and then I saw you guys play at the symphony, which is very cool.
Oh
At
man, I was so nervous for that one. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I mean, come on, you're like with the Houston Symphony, and I was just like, oh shit, like no, like I'm nowhere near like that level. But I mean, everybody was super nice. Everybody was super cool. I hung out with the low brass guys and talked to them, and
good. Yeah,
man, super cool. Everybody was nice. What else? Man, we still have some of the charts that they wrote.
yeah. Who was doing all the arranging for that?
Oh man,
Do you remember or you know?
I know Henry Dara helped us with some arranging,
Oh, good.
and I cannot remember the other guy. There's somebody else that was helping with some arranging as well.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't write down any of this. We talk about now, transcribing everything as we write, as we make new songs, so it won't be so hard. But I was like, man, I want to leave it to somebody else. I can't do any of that.
You don't
But
write down anything, like not even the horn parts, just to remember. Right?
no, I just remember them, and I have a real weird way of writing some of my licks down. I just write the note, and and if it's like just one note and it's like space and then another, like that's a quarter note to me. If I have
Okay.
two notes together, that's an eighth note. But if it's 16th note, man, you can forget it. I don't even know how I do that. But most of the time, I just like record myself and just practice along with like audio at home and stuff like that, and just memorize it. Because my
Yeah.
reading, my musical reading is not up to par for sure. But
Uh,
it's actually been I've been kind of working on that since I've been at home. I have an Arbin book, and
yeah.
I just been kind of put on a metronome and just practicing, yeah, or like real slow, and then every now and then I'll take it up a little faster and bring it back down, and
Yeah, you got to do them. The Bible, Arvin's Bible. Yeah, it's played out of that thing for too long.
yeah. so what
Yeah, that
so what if you don't mind me asking, like what other groups are you playing with, or currently playing with, or have played with besides the Suspects?
uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, my big things were the Suspects. After the Suspects called it quits for a while, we we had like a side project called Clouseau,
Hmm.
well, which is a plural of Inspector Clouseau with an X at the end, and that was a lounge exotica, mostly instrumental experiment, doing like ultra lounge style stuff with an extended ensemble, some great musicians in there, and including guitarist Doyle, who is I think with
Oh, he's phenomenal, man.
he's with Robert Ellis now.
Yeah.
But Kelly Doyle, I mean, and it was so funny because I met that all started up in the Woodlands because the bass player Jay Brooks from Middle Finger, it was his project, it was his brainchild,
Hmm.
and so we would drive all the way to like Conroe to rehearse at like the community college, and that's where I met Kelly. I think he lived up there, and I never heard of him or seen him, and he was still kind of like getting it together.
Hmm.
You can see in over 3 years, I guess I was with Clouseau, it was just like developed into this monster,
Yeah.
insane monster player with like very specific idea of how he wanted to sound and all the cool like 1950s Les Paul guitar sounds and pyro pyro effects and stuff. It was pretty
That's
neat to see that
cool.
develop. Yeah, we had this guy John who could play drums pretty well and percussion, but he was a fire breather, and so that
Oh
was the best
man.
part. Like we had a when we never played Fitzgerald's for that reason, I think, but because it was a matchbox. But we played the Continental Club for a while on a weekly, like a Wednesday night or something insane.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, when's the fire guy coming out? And we play this long, extended Latin percussion and all this weird stuff, and you just throw fireballs throughout the Continental Club. It was cool.
I'm surprised
So
Continental Club didn't burn down.
yeah, no, it was brand new then too. So it was like everyone was trying to find their footing, and
Yeah.
our singer Thomas Escalante, he owns Six Lagoon, which is right there in the Continental Club,
Yeah.
the North Main, not North Main, the what they call that area, the
Uh,
South Main
mid
something,
mid mid
Mid
Main.
Main,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. And so he was really really tight with those guys, and so we were always there. So yeah, Suspects, Clouseau. I worked with a variety band for a number of years called Fried Ice Cream, where we did a bunch of weddings and bar mitzvahs and stuff. And then a lot of stuff with Thomas Helton. So Boomtown Brass Band, and whenever he would organize like a tribute project, The Birth of the Cool, or we had a project where we did the Jerry Mulligan pianoless quartets for a while,
Hmm.
and it was me and Barry sax, bass, and drums, and so I was writing out the charts for that as well with some that they already had. Currently, I'm teaching. I
Yeah.
got a kid, and I'm teaching full time, and I'll take what comes. Sometimes there are people that I like to work with more than others,
Hmm.
but no, just kind of focused on doing that well.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's so cool. Yeah, did you used to do some recording as well back in the day, right?
with the groups.
With other artists and stuff.
Not on a regular basis, kind of hit or miss, just various sessions that I can't even remember. Things at Trigger Hill, things at Wire Road, still stuff
Yeah.
like that every now and then. But yeah, the whatever session work there is, if it ever comes my way, I love doing that. I'm not really in that call group these days.
Yeah. I hate recording. I don't know about you, but I hate
Oh,
it.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, it's great.
I've warmed up, some now, but man, first recording, like I would always know I would always go with this mindset knowing that okay, whatever I play is going to be on this forever, and it has to be good. And I'm like, and so I would go in just like freaking out, knowing this has to be good. You have to get it perfect, and then after a while, they're like, you can do that again. I was like, I can. I don't know. It was just all this pressure. Like I was just like, no, I hate it. But now
Yeah.
now I can whatchamacallit. We've been well before everything. We were recording, and I think that's the most comfortable I've ever been. And we've recorded somewhere in Denton, and yeah, I think that's the best I've ever felt comfortable. And that's the other thing too, is playing with headphones or in ears. You don't
Mhm.
the tone of your sound
Oh,
does not.
yes.
Yeah, and that's what I hate the most, because if I go start playing and it doesn't sound the way that I'm used to, automatically in my head I fuck with my embouchure, and I'm like, no, don't do that, because then it's probably sounding different. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I do too. It would mess with me for years. And I mean, I eventually started wearing earplugs because I was noticing losses.
Hmm.
But you just kind of get used to doing it because I don't know. I mean, you're in a band that's successful, so you probably play in venues where you actually have a monitor mix that you can operate and
Yeah.
hear yourself. But I mean, maybe 10% of gigs. That's been my situation. Just being a local tradesman,
Uh-huh.
you just don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes there's no monitor. Sometimes there's a microphone. And, with like a horn section, like, well, there's that spot that's about that big over there. If you three could stand in that little
Yeah.
dark corner or something. But
Behind the curtain.
yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sure you guys are talented. Just go way back there and just, all huddle in and, do your thing. Um, yeah. But yeah, so I'd have to wear the earplugs too, but they would always mess with me. And I just, you hope for the best. And you go off more, it's irritating because you go off of more feel than sound
Yeah,
because you
definitely.
have no choice.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's awful.
Oh,
But yeah, but recording's the best. You get to create like a whole like an idea of a sound because you can
yeah,
manipulate and stuff. Because that's what I like working at on the Suspects records and the Clouseau stuff. We were always at Sugar Hill with Andy Bradley, and he'd just like show you how he did everything. And I'd get there early before he was setting up so he could, because we were still using tape, and he'd show me how it all goes in and how he manipulates everything, and it was just
yeah.
fascinating. I
It,
always wanted to do that.
and it's funny because actually when I was at San Jack, and I think I've said this on one of my other podcasts or episodes, I when I was at San Jack the first semester, I was actually going for audio engineering, and
Oh, okay.
so but I got freaked out because there was our teacher at the time, I can't even remember his name, whatchamacallit, he goes, you're either the musician or you're the engineer. And for some reason that freaked me out. And I was just like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Like, am I supposed to like keep doing this or because I liked playing music and I just didn't want to, give that up. And so I didn't know what to do. So I ended up kind of just dropping out of that program and, and I was just like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. And, yeah, it kind of scared me. So, but I love the technology behind the recording and everything and what you can do, what you can manipulate, because that gives you like endless possibilities pretty much to create something, and but I'm starting to
Yeah.
come around like knowing the creativeness about it, but just trying to be more comfortable to give me so I can be more confident in my playing to get out what I want to get out. That's the hard part for me.
In the recording studio specifically, or
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about?
yeah, just trying to hear myself because I just want to hear the way I know I sound when I play. That gives because that gives me confidence. But when there's stuff that's restricting my hearing and I don't hear the way that I want to sound, that I don't feel as confident playing in those lines and stuff like that, and lines that I've played forever, and I feel like I start messing up on small things that I normally don't mess up on just because the sound to me is different.
You get hung up in the minutia of
Yeah,
it all, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's so important to be comfortable in the studio, no matter what you're doing,
hmm
to have room and find the headphone setup that works for you and
yeah,
stuff like that. Like, did you ever like find yourself dancing in place just to make sure you get the right feel and all that?
yeah.
Yeah, I always have to do it.
Yeah, I have to kind of mimic my stage presence. If I don't do it, like it just doesn't work sometimes. And there's times where I feel like I'm not moving or getting into it physically with the song. And like recently, or the last time we recorded, Cam, she's like, Razzo, you have some great takes. It sounded awesome, but you're just real stiff. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you're not dancing. And so we stopped, and me, John, and Cam were just in the studio, just dancing and kind of like shaking out. And of course, the next take, everything was perfect, and I was like, oh, that's all I needed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It just takes it like they're all rough takes before that, man. Until you're like actually feeling it.
yeah, man. Well, cool, man. Well, Ryan, I think it's about that time.
Sure.
I want to say thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, and it's finally great to meet you and great, chatting and
Yeah,
hopefully
maybe I'll shake your hand someday. That'd be great to meet in person.
virtual high five.
Oh,
No,
yes.
but yeah, when this is all over, man, let's get some coffee or something, and I would love to do some lessons with you, sit down, talk some more, and just hang out.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, send me, I don't know, if you have a duet book, send me a part of a duet, and then I'll play the other part. We can start there.
Okay, cool, man. Sounds
Yeah, it'd
good.
be fun.
All right.
Cool. Well, thanks for doing this, and thanks for having me on. It's
Yeah,
been really,
man.
really nice.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too. Take care.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. That was Mr. Ryan Gabbart, local trombonist and music educator and performer. That was the first time I ever got to meet him, and it was pretty awesome. Definitely Can't wait to hang out with him again. Stick around for next week. I'm working on our next guest. I'll hopefully have some info about our next guest soon. But before I say goodbye, I got one more ad from Gooseworks. If you were to take an ad and a marketing agency, a graphic designer, and a screen printer, you get Gooseworks Screen Printing Studio. Proud sponsor of the Boomtown podcast. Gooseworks has been designing and printing for local Houston businesses and organizations for over 7 years. Located at 3511 Pinemont Drive, Unit C2 in the Oak Forest area. Gooseworks Screen Printing Studio. You deserve this level of quality. Check out my homie Gooseworks, gooseworksart.com. He has some really cool shirts. And like I said, he's doing a really cool shirt to help out musicians in the local Houston area. And all 50% proceeds of his shirt goes to the Houston Art Alliance, who has been helping giving out grants to musicians and artists in the Houston area. But yeah, check it out. And with that said, thank you again, and I hope everybody's staying safe and well. And until next time, see y'all next Friday.